She's got some nice long hair.
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron, and welcome into, I guess, a losing Sunday, a losing Monday, whatever we want to call it. We are going to be breaking down this team, and I know there's a lot of pessimism. We're going to be realistic about this game. We're going to be talking about the highs, the lows, and everything, kind of 10 key takeaways, and who looked good. We kind of know who didn't, but I'm really excited to go and dissect this game. Make sure to like and subscribe, though, if you're watching out there on YouTube. The goal is 2,000. I'm actually going to be doing a giveaway when we reach 2,000 subscribers. I think it'll be pretty easy. So if you watch some of this stuff and if you like what you see, make sure to subscribe out there. Also, if you've already subscribed, tell some other people out there, too, about the show. We're optimistic out here, but we're mainly realistic. But also make sure to rate 5 stars if you are listening to the show out there anywhere that you get your podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we didn't look too good. There's no sugarcoating this. We ended up losing to the New York Giants in New York 20-12. And when you look at the stats, it didn't look too great, right? We have Justin Fields. We threw for 174 yards. Total passing is only 155 due to giving up 6 sacks. We also ran for 149 rushing yards, 4.7 yards average. And from a passing perspective, we let up only 71 total passing yards. So 71 to Daniel Jones and 11 to Tyrod Taylor, but 262 rushing yards to the New York Giants for an average of 6 yards a carry. Now, we knew they were going to be able to run the ball on us, but that was pretty bad. But we'll definitely go through, especially the bootlegs, because you look at this, Saquon Barkley averaged 4.7 yards a carry, but Daniel Jones averaged 11.3. Yes, he's a quarterback, but we all know that was heavily on the first half of the game. 6 carries, 68 yards. Not great. Not great for giving up that many, especially on some of these bootlegs. But what I want to go through today, though, is first off, we're going to start out with some injuries, right? We're going to break down who was injured, who wasn't able to play, and then let's go through the offense and kind of talk through 5 takeaways that I see. Also, some optimism about this offense, and also some harsh realism about this offense as well. And then we flip over to the defensive side of the ball, where we will be doing the same thing and then round things out with special teams and player of the game. Ladies and gents, let's go through some of these injuries. So Santos was not there, Jalen Johnson, Monty, Ryan Griffin, and Matt Adams. A couple other people too, but those were kind of your core inactives. We already know the money badger, Michael Badgley, scored all of our points with 4 field goals. Now, he played great. I'm glad that he can hopefully play himself to an actual job. I'm glad that he was able to at least do that. So good on him, honestly. But I wish he never was out there, except if it was for an extra point. Unfortunately, we scored 0 touchdowns, and Jalen Johnson, yet again, out. But we still had the undrafted rookie free agent Jones play pretty well. Jalen Jones did not play terrible out there. And honestly, only giving up 71 yards total, not too bad from this pass defense for our Chicago Bears. But also Velus Jones and Robert Quinn, first time that we were able to see Velus out there. We already know the story of it. He fumbled the punt and really just cost us the game there. We'll break that down a little bit later on. And Lucas Patrick, he's still playing at guard. And the big news, Cody Whitehair went down. That was something major. I think it was a knee. We'll just have to see and monitor what that is. And you kind of saw this offense as soon as Cody Whitehair went down. The running game, I felt like it didn't look as good. But Whitehair down, it's sad because you get to see he was having a really good year, honestly. And so hopefully you can have him back. But I get nervous about that especially. So we'll monitor that throughout the week. But what we ended up seeing was Lucas Patrick shift over to the left-hand side, and Tevin Jenkins ultimately playing the rest of the game at right guard. But let's go over to this offense for the Chicago Bears because, ladies and gentlemen, this was the biggest storyline for this game. So, first takeaway, start a little bit optimistic. It was a balanced play call, right? I know a lot of us were asking for it. If you were, let me know. But a lot of us were calling for this balanced play call, more passes and a little bit less running the football, right? I think for me, I wanted them to run it a lot more, but this was kind of the first game that we saw that the Chicago Bears actually passed the football. Football more than running the football. So Justin Fields, 22 attempts. He was sacked 6 times, and he also ran for 7 carries. So I don't know how many carries of those were actual scrambles, but if we're looking at the running backs numbers, we only had 25 carries. Yet again, Khalil Herbert, 19 carries, 77 yards, 4.1 yard average. Not terrible, but not great. And Treston Ebner, 6 carries for 20 yards. Now, let me just say, Treston Ebner, I don't know if it's just me, but he seems to be running with concrete shoes, like, or concrete in his shoes, I'd say. Tristan Ebner definitely looks slow out there. I didn't love what I saw out of him, and this is another game where you see him really perform worse than everybody else out there. So 3.3 yards to carry, not great, but honestly, you still see Khalil Herbert is somebody that you can still kind of play with. And actually, I'm going to jump down to my point number 4 because it's a combination of this. We saw Khalil Herbert was game plan for. And I want to point this out because this is a big thing. Because I heard Maurice Jones-Drew. Do you guys remember him with the Jaguars? He played with Fred Taylor. And Fred Taylor was the lead guy. He was the old running back that was eventually going to be on his way out. But what Fred Taylor did is Fred Taylor only averaged like 4 point something yards a carry. And then MJD was averaging 5 yards a carry. And he was saying this. He's like, I thought this was easy. I was like, the NFL is simple. Like, I could just easily get these yards. But what he realized was when he took over the reins, he was then game planned for, and he was no longer getting those 5 yards a game averages like he was because he wasn't the focus of the game plan. So to me, I'm glad that Khalil Herbert was game planned for, that he was kind of the main person, and I hope it happens again because you get to see defenses truly focus in on Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert and David Montgomery are 2 different types of runners with how they attack you. So I liked it. And honestly, 4.1 yards a carry, especially when they were just loading the box and just going after the run every single time. It isn't good. It isn't bad. It's solid, right? But you kind of wanted a little bit more out of him. But it was nice to at least see this guy. Is he going to be your actual starter? Actually get game plan for. But let's go back to that whole balanced play call. I know a lot of people wanted that, and it was nice to at least see. It was truly nice for us to at least be like, okay, this is what it looks like if we're not just running the ball every freaking play, right? And it gives you a better understanding of how this offense truly looks and how this offense truly functions. And that's really where we go to my point number 2 or third point that I've given for those that are listening. Justin Fields, this is his 4th bad game in a row. And I don't want to say it, but it's true. It's not saying he's a bust. It's not saying he's terrible. It's saying he's playing terrible, right? Think of this similar to like your favorite TV shows, right? I love Breaking Bad. But still, for those that have watched Breaking Bad, there's the Fly episode, right? all us fans, we know what that episode was. And for those that haven't watched, it's literally a boring, quiet episode, and one fly is just buzzing around the meth lab that they have, and that's all the episode freaking is for like an hour. That's all the episode is. It was a bad episode for a great show. It doesn't mean that just because he's had 4 bad games, that's the end of Justin Fields. We have an entire season to evaluate Justin Fields. What did we see today, though? let me know down in the comments what you felt about Justin Fields for those watching out on YouTube. But to me, Justin Fields, I right after the game, not the Jags, the Lions were on. And here we see Jared Goff, a quarterback that's not necessarily like the best in the world, right? And I saw the pocket collapse around him. And I'm used to seeing Justin Fields where when that happens to him, he scrambles, he runs away, does stuff like that. But what Jared Goff did is he just stood in the pocket and he threw it. He stood tall. And that's really, I'd say, what Justin Fields really needs to work on. He needs to work on a handful of things, but especially today, there's a handful of plays when he felt like somebody was going to be beaten. Or if something didn't go perfect, he would just kind of tuck and run. And what you're seeing is a lot of these wide receivers are now automatically blocking downfield rather than just continuing their route and continuing to be open because they're like, oh boy, here goes Justin again. He's going to run the football and I'm not going to get my pass, right? Is that the right thing for some wide receivers to do? Probably not. Get open, try and get the ball. But also, Fields needs to keep his eyes down the field. This play went very viral. If you haven't, just search for Justin Fields and you might see it. You might see a little screen grab. Basically, the pocket was not necessarily collapsing. The tackles were going behind him, and most quarterbacks would just do a simple step up. And I think that's really what Fields needs to do is Fields basically drops back, and in a lot of times, he doesn't necessarily step up. He doesn't necessarily sidestep. He just kind of tucks and runs. And I think that's something that he does need to work on. You have it on tape. Now watch it. And when he did this, rather than just stepping up and right in front of him, Darnell Mooney wide open for a touchdown, instead of keeping his head up, stepping up, and then throwing it, he ended up tucking it and running it and ended up getting the first down. So kudos to Fields. But still, it's similar to like what the Titans were saying about their quarterback, their running quarterback, where yes, he was running for good plays. What he ended up feeling is that overall, if you are not running my plays, you are not running the passing offense, you technically are kind of losing, right? You're not doing what I want out of this. So, yeah, he just needs to keep his head up. He needs to look downfield. And I think that's something that's very difficult. And something too, every way that you slice it, Justin Fields has the most time to throw. Renewable saying this out too. He's holding the ball too long, bailing out early. That's really what he's doing. He has the most time to throw, and it's not because of the offensive line. It's because it's taking him just a tick too long. If you've ever played football, whether it's with your friends, whether it's Madden, whether it's professionally, if you've ever played the game of football and if you've ever had to be the quarterback, we've all had it where someone is open, but because you just wait a split second, or like you're playing with your buddies and they're like, I'm open. And then the guy like turns and he's like, oh yeah, he is. And then he throws, you're not open anymore. It's that split half second that can change that game. And right now, he just still seems like he's a half second, a little bit too slow. It's sad to say, but yet again, it's not saying that Justin Fields is done. We have 13 more games, right? We have a lot more games to at least evaluate him. But I'll let everybody know if you start to see somebody that's posting like, dude, Justin Fields is good. Justin Fields has not played well. Doesn't mean he's a bust. Doesn't mean he's never going to do anything ever. It just means he hasn't played well in 4 games. Can't wait to see what he is going to be able to put on tape. I'm excited for that. It's a long season, and that's still where this team is not a playoff team. And try and just look for certain developments that are looking good. And one, Darnell Mooney. Darnell Mooney finally got involved. 5 targets, 4 receptions, 94 yards. We finally got to see him go deep. He was able to make a couple good catches, and I really, really enjoyed seeing him out there. Made some good plays. The one that wasn't completed was a drop. A little bit difficult. You got to try and corral that, but still not necessarily putting that 100% on Darnell Mooney. But overall, really liked what I saw out of Darnell, at least that he was being out there. But the one thing that I just didn't see out of him It was nice that he was being targeted. It was nice that he was being targeted deep. I want to see some of that short game. Like, I want to see short game that isn't a screen, right? Like, where are the quick slants? Where is stuff like that where you can kind of get some of these easy plays? Instead, they're very long developing, out routes and other plays like that. I want to see some slants out there. That might just be me. Um, but yeah, so Ron in the comments is saying this too, and this is just kind of overall with the offense. I didn't have this on like my takeaways, but overall for this offense, so many fourth downs. And I think what do you have to lose? Go for the kill shot, right? And especially towards the end of the game, we saw this. The last offensive drive that the Bears had, not the one where they just threw everything around and everybody was just running around like chickens with their heads cut off. When it was fourth down, and on third down, you ran it out of the shotgun. You didn't get the first down, but it was 4th and 2. They don't have a quarterback because both quarterbacks were injured. They don't have a quarterback, so they're going to run the football. And what you opt to do is not go for it, and you decide to punt it. That's something that I am questioning because what do you have to lose? We are playing very conservatively, but we don't have much to lose. Like, if you have a bad season this year, you're like, okay, yeah, well, the roster's not that good. What did you expect? Right? Like, just go for it. I don't get that logic. I don't get not trying to at least go for it there because, yeah, maybe you could say, well, what if they got a couple? What if you get this, right? Like, why not try to go for the kill? And I think that right now, the coaching staff just doesn't have that dog in them, right? Like that kill shot. Go for the kill rather than just trying to be like, let's just try to cover the spread, right? Um, so we shall see. But overall, my last little piece. But yeah, more comments in here. Getty's play calling plan is turn a lump of coal into a diamond. Yeah, it's difficult, and we're getting some Justin Fields is not it. Another quarterback from Reload. Yeah, it's difficult out there, and right now, I am starting to doubt Justin Fields a little bit more. I am. It's hard because when someone gives you 4 straight games of this, and also I kind of want to dig up my scouting report on Justin Fields. Justin Fields, to me, my first time watching him was actually not that great because I noticed that he was just in the pocket, just would kind of stare and like seemed like everything was super easy. Like the system was very easy for him. And he's got all the talent in the world. And I think that he just needs some time. He just needs, like, let's give him the season. And if he continues to show that he's not that guy, we move on, right? Then we move on from him, and then we can kind of grab another quarterback for competition. We have $100 million in cap space. Lamar Jackson has not gotten a contract yet. That would be very interesting to see, to say the least. Lamar could be available. But yet again, I'm not selling Justin Fields immediately. We got 13 games to decide if we officially want to move on from him. But there's one thing for certain that is a fact. Justin Fields has to play better. Just plain and simple. And another easy fact, Tevin Jenkins is better than Lucas Patrick. That is my 5th offensive takeaway. It baffles me that they love Lucas Patrick that much, right? Like, I know that he's Getsy's guy, Getsy's boy, but still, like, you see Tevin Jenkins. I don't care what he looks like on Wednesday. I don't care if he's not the perfect practice participant. He's the better player. Just let him start. And this is something that's also positive. You can look at Patrick and be like, why the heck is he starting at right guard? Look at Tevin Jenkins. This was a guy that we did not expect to really be playing that much. We didn't see a lot of him. Tevin Jenkins is out there. And on first look, he looked to be the best offensive lineman as soon as Cody Whitehair went down. He seemed to be the most reliable. He seemed to be pushing bodies. And again, this is first reaction, first glance, but he seemed to be the best offensive lineman that we did have out there. But also the rest of the offensive line, Lucas Patrick was constantly beat. You see the tape, they were showing highlights. And at that time, like I usually watch the game with my family, one of my brothers came over and he's like, yeah, so what happened? And how's it been? Like, just watch this. Basically, Lucas Patrick's been getting toasted on the inside. Same thing with Mustipher. Mustipher, I posted this out on Twitter. I guess Sam Mustipher's family likes to comment or say bad things. So I'm waiting for a DM from them. Someone warned me that, like, watch out. This guy's his family's probably going to DM you it. They're not happy. But I believe there was 14 pressures um, for Sam Mustipher, 14 pressures, and 7 of them were from Mustipher. So 7 across the line, 7 at the center position. And one of the things that really got me bothered was you saw them do like a double A gap, not even like a double A gap blitz. When they were blitzing the A, which is basically right up the middle, I saw Mustipher try and help Jenkins, and then he like looks back and he's like, "Oh crap, there's another guy running right up the middle," and he has to move. Wasn't fast enough, and then Justin Fields gets blown up. 6 sacks, right? New York Giants love to blitz. We knew this going into the game, and whenever they blitz, it seemed to be big. But yeah, Lucas Patrick should be a center. Like, Lucas Patrick should be the center, and honestly, I know Schofield wasn't amazing, but if Whitehair's out for a while, I really do think that you just try and have Lucas Patrick be that center. You want him to be the center. Put him there, right? Like, make your, like, as Willie's saying, he's not a guard, he's a center. Like, put him at center and see what he can do, because you also brought him in on a 2-year deal because you wanted him to be your center. And so that's what I think a lot of people are going to be wanting. So, yeah. So another thing too is the tackles I felt also were a little bit weak. But I will say this, some positivity. Braxton Jones was PFF's highest graded left tackle, or rookie left tackle. I don't know how many rookie left tackles there are out there, but it is nice to know that somebody that we drafted very late was at least doing well. But we'll see what his grade was today. But I will tell you, Sam Mustipher's grade I saw on first reactions was an 8. Like an 8.9, I believe. Like, that's it. That out of 100, he's an 8.9. It was really bad, and I hope that they see it. When somebody is bigger than Mustipher, he gets tossed around. He can't handle those big guys. That's exactly what we saw today. But let's go over to this defense. I'm sick of tired talking about this offense. We got some receivers, though, involved. Cole Kmet, I don't get the tight end screen, but they were running that for some odd reason. And also Willie brings up a good point. Put Riley Reif at right tackle, Tevin at right guard. Honestly, I saw Borum go down, and I was kind of like, why not? Like, why not try Riley Reif? I don't think that you could bench Braxton Jones, but that's where, like what Willie's saying, you put Riley Reif at right tackle just to see what's at least out there. I felt like, yeah, Borum struggled a little bit. And if you don't believe that Borum's that guy, put Riley Reif back there, because if Borum isn't the guy, you need to know if Justin Fields is the guy first, right? Like, he's the more important position that you want to see. And I think that if you have at least Riley Reif out there, who's been a decent tackle in this league, I think you at least kind of have a baseline and just try and creep back towards average on this offensive line. It'll be I'm a fan of it. But yet again, I'm not calling necessarily for Borum's head all the time. So let's go over to this defense. This defense, we have a couple pieces renewable right out here. Rowe was not playing like the greatest linebacker ever today. Exactly. We know that Roquan Smith did end up missing a crucial tackle that turned into a first down. I don't fault him that much. I think he got a little bit eager. But if you want to be the highest paid linebacker, you make those tackles, right? Like we've talked about this. He needs to just make those game-changing tackles. He's the best tackler on the team, though. Like, I think that that's simple. But do you know who's number 2? Right now, like, who's the number 2 best tackler out there? Because right now, today, it looked like Eddie Jackson, man. Like, Eddie Jackson was tackling. He was taking people down in open field. He was doing well. Honestly, I love Eddie Jackson. He's got a different mindset. He seems like a leader. Like, come on. Eddie Jackson's been looking awesome. I'm loving it. But yeah, so let's start off with the defense. And Crazy Ace TV mentioned this out here. I don't know why defense couldn't really defend against the bootleg against the Giants. I agree. It was so frustrating. I felt like all of us as a whole, we were just yelling and saying, "Hey, why are you they're running the bootleg? Like just get the bootleg. Like somebody cover the back." And here's the good part. This is good and bad. The Bears were able to handle the bootleg after halftime. But my question is, why couldn't you have done that before halftime? Why couldn't you have both been on like the sidelines saying, "Hey, you know what? They keep doing this." Like bring down those Surface tablets and say, "Look at what they're doing. Somebody needs to guard this on the back." I don't know who's at fault. It seems like a lot of it might have been Brisker, but I also want to give Brisker this caveat though. I don't want us to slander um uh I don't want us to slander the great Jaquan Brisker, but still, I don't know if Brisker's playing man to man there and he's trying to stick on a guy. It's something that I'll have to just try and rewatch because typically it starts up front. Like the up front people need to try and set the edge because you just don't know where someone's going to be. You don't know if someone is like, if Brisker was supposed to be on the tight end rather than trying to get that, like seal off that edge, seal off that cutback for that rollout. But also, you could also just literally pull up, this is what the Giants are doing against us, and we need to do that on our defensive side of the ball. But yeah, it was very, very frustrating. But yeah, eventually though, we did solve that at the end of the second half or the second half. So at least there was that. I kind of wish that Daniel Jones didn't get hurt just so we could kind of validate that in fact the new play calling was working, but it seemed like it was, honestly. And hey, we let up but we let up 68 yards to Daniel Jones rushing it and 2 touchdowns, but eventually we at least stopped it. But my second takeaway, a bad game for Morrow. I felt like Morrow was missing a lot of tackles out there, a couple big plays. There was even a sack where he's like running him down. And it's like, dude, just jump, like do something, like go after him. Actually, there was 2 plays that he could have gotten a sack, but instead chose like one of them was difficult, like he had to kind of run him down, but the other one was like, all right, do something, dive, do something, and instead they throw the ball away. Overall, Morrow has played decently as a linebacker, and today I just felt like just wasn't that guy. Just did not play that great. But also, Willie, you read my mind in the comments. My number 8 takeaway overall, and I put a ×2 on that for everybody that's watching out there on YouTube. And that means this is the second week in a row. No more Al-Qadim Muhammad, please. Like why? Why is he out there? Because here's another week where this is a bad offensive line. And we got 1 sack? Are you kidding me? Let me see who even got the sack because it's even hard for me to like remember. Yeah, Brisker. That's not even an actual sack. That is just because Brisker was guarding the cutback for Daniel Jones. So Jaquan Brisker gets the sack. We only hit the quarterback twice. And here's the thing, too. Eventually, their starting right tackle isn't even out there. And you see Al-Qadim Muhammad still not putting up good plays, still not sealing the edge, as it seems like that would be his main job. Wasn't doing a lot of that stuff out there. I don't know why he's playing this much. Put out Robinson, put out Gibson. Gibson was called, they had to hold Gibson as soon as they put him in rather than Muhammad. Every time Muhammad's in, I just scream at the screen because he doesn't do anything. Like, why is he playing when you have other people with higher potential and really haven't given you a reason to put them on the bench? When I feel, on the other hand, Muhammad's given us like a million reasons to bench him. So to me, I don't really get that. But also a couple other things. We got Renewable saying Robert Quinn needs to be traded. I do have a hot take on this a little bit later. Robert Quinn looks so old. I agree. Robert Quinn has looked very, very old out there. Not looking good. That's why I was always saying trade him before this season starts, because you're not going to copy and get like what 18 and a half, 19 and a half sacks like he did before. It's an anomaly. Statistically, he wasn't going to repeat what he was doing. And yes, he's gone against very good left tackles, but still, like, you would expect that if this guy is an all pro, this guy's a great player, he should be at least doing something to kind of beat him down. So, yeah, it's going to be difficult. So so let's go over to my next piece. But yeah, Crazy Ace saying about second half team. This Bears team usually is a second half team, but it's hard. It's like, why can't we just at least do something a little bit early? But yeah, we are not blitzing a lot, and it's hard. I think that we started. It seemed like we blitzed a little bit more today. We had Eddie Jackson blitzing, and it always looked like he was flying in, but it always seemed like they were running the football. And on the one time that he did, it was actually a pass play. They ran him out of the pocket and almost got the sack. So hopefully we end up blitzing a little bit more, because, yeah, it's not getting done on the front line. And the defensive interior, yet again, another bad interior offensive line that looked really good against us. We got nobody out there on the defensive interior. It's not pretty. But my number 9 point, and I've already been kind of alluding to this, Eddie Jackson is back. This is the second week in a row. Eddie Jackson, interception. Should he have picked it off? You could say no, because it put us in bad field position, but I don't care, man. Get your interception. Get it. He played it well, did a whole over the shoulder grab. He's looking good. He's making tackles. Like, it's amazing to see Eddie Jackson playing well. And I think when we look at this team as a whole, the safeties I'm so excited about. You have Eddie Jackson playing amazing. And I think that NFL Next Gen Stats had Jaquan Brisker ranked as the 7th, I think it was about 7th or 8th best safety in the league, right? Like, the safeties are playing great. And I think that I think that Brisker makes some rookie mistakes, but I still think like these safeties, we went into the season going, and I know a lot of people were calling for Eddie Jackson's head. I knew, like, you couldn't trade him because of his salary cap, and it was, let's just see what he does. Dude, he's looking good. I think that he might be a bold take. I think that he's showing why he's worth his contract. I think it'd be dumb for the Bears to actually cut him right now, because he's playing like a leader out there. So I like what I'm seeing out of there from him. And you know what? Just keep on going, safeties, because that is definitely a highlight. It's amazing. Like, I just want to watch that. Can we just watch the secondary minus? And this leads me to my last one. The last point, number 10, the secondary minus Kyler Gordon is good. And Jalen Jones, another week that he's out here, and we're not hearing much from him. And this was another week I was a little bit nervous, because Jalen Johnson was kind of listed as out before this game. So they knew they were going against an undrafted rookie free agent, but still you don't see him being taken advantage of. Who did we see get taken advantage of? Kyler Gordon. Kyler Gordon got beat in coverage. Kyler Gordon got a defensive pass interference. He's not looked good, right? He's not looked good overall. But here's the thing. And Crazy Ace TV already beat me to the point with this. Yeah, give him 2 to 3 years. Honestly, Gordon coming out, we've said this like almost every episode whenever he does bad, which has been every week. Kyler Gordon is an athlete. Cornerback position is difficult. You can't just expect this guy to come in and just ball out. He wasn't that guy. He was not that guy out there all today. So overall, but let's just give some praise to the secondary. I think that Kendall Vildor has been playing great. Bravo to him. Like, seriously, he's been looking good. He's been breaking up passes. He hasn't been the Kendall Vildor of last year. And you have him on a cost control deal, and he's been playing decent. But also, like I said, Jalen Jones playing well. When Jalen Johnson's back, it's going to be good. But also, I think too, like, what happens if Kyler Gordon goes down, right? And actually, I'll bring that up a little bit later. It's part of one of the hot takes that I got out there. So, but yeah, it's difficult. But let's so that kind of wraps up my 10 takeaways. But I totally forgot to do the hot takes from offense. So I'm actually going to go back to the offense just so that we can kind of get some of these hot takes out there. And actually, before we get into that, let's just finish off the defense, be done with it, and kind of then move on from there. But my defensive hot takes. So these hot takes are from the internet, from Twitter. And also, if you want to live a happier life, don't be on Twitter during a Bears game. This is the dead honest truth. I was like, oh, I'll just go on the Bears Twitter for a little bit, just see what's going on. Oh my God, this is the most depressing thing I've ever seen. It's just like nothing's right. And yeah, the game's not pretty, but it just amplifies that. Like if you suffer from high anxiety or depression, don't go on the Bears Twitter. Just put the phone away. Don't look at that, like, for real. But let's go to these overreactions, because one of them that I saw out there was people saying bench Kyler Gordon. Now, where do I sit with that? Where do you guys sit with that? Bench Kyler Gordon. To me, I think that's idiotic. I know that Kyler Gordon has not looked good, right? He's not looked good. But here's the dead honest truth. Who would you replace him with, right? I think if Jalen Johnson came back, you at least have that option. Like, let's just flat out talk about options, right? You don't have that. If Jalen Johnson did come back, I think what you should do is you have Kindle Vildor on the outside and you have Jalen Johnson on the other side, right? And then DHC as the slot corner. You don't really have many options at this cornerback position. And I mean, actually, now thinking about it, you could even put Jalen Jones out there on the outside. But yet again, who would kind of be that interior player? Because Blackwell, we have not seen him. We don't know if he's a great slot corner. I think that's difficult. And also, Kyler Gordon, if you take him out, you could really kind of hurt his ego. And yes, it's like, well, it's his feelings. He should know. But seriously, I just don't think that would be a good idea. I think overall, I don't think that you should bench him. And that's why this is a hot take. It's a hot take overall. Not a big fan of it. And I did also see some people too. I can't believe that Ryan Poles took Gordon over Brisker. I agree with that take because I liked Brisker and I wasn't a huge fan of Gordon. I loved Brisker. I would have taken him with the first pick by far. But seriously. Oh yeah, and Lamar Jackson. Yeah, I totally forgot about Lamar Jackson. Thank you, Willie. But yeah, it's just, this is a development year. You have to take the lumps, right? Like, exactly. Renewable Gordon is going to have growing pains, but we already knew that going in. Exactly. Like, we already know that this is going to be a little bit hard, but this isn't the year for us to make the playoffs. It's not. It's not at all. And the second hot take, this one I'm excited about. I think it might have been Renewable up here that also kind of commented this, but here's the hot take. And this is actually from me. I didn't see this out on Twitter. Maybe I should have posted this on Twitter. Trade Robert Quinn to the Chargers. And I stand by this. Like, Robert Quinn, I love him. He signed the football for my kids. Like, really nice guy. This is a business. And I think trade him to the Chargers. Do you know why? The Chargers are trying to win the Super Bowl. They are a very, very good team. And do you know who they lost? Joey Bosa. They lost Bosa. Now they don't have a good pass rusher opposite Khalil Mack. Well, I know somebody that could probably benefit from playing across the field from Khalil Mack. Also, I know a certain someone that has actually played with Robert Quinn, and that would be Mr. Brandon Staley. Come on down. I will love to see a draft pick potentially for that. Be it like, so the usual, a second round pick. I'd be fine with that. You save some cap space. You move on. Like, I know that some people might see this as like selling selling the team for this year, we're not going to win anything this year. So why not just try and build for the future? Try to build for that next season. To me, I'm all for it. Call the Chargers up. Let's get them on the horn and let's make this deal happen. But let me know what you think. Would you trade him? What would you trade him for? I think that's the bigger question. What would you trade for Robert Quinn or give up for him? But let's go over to the offensive overreactions. I just wanted to move on from the offense. I apologize, but we shall put the final bullet in it. Overreaction. I saw this out on Twitter. The Bears would be a dynasty if the NFL outlawed passing. Kind of a tongue-in-cheek little joke out there, but seriously, I just think that it's a joke, but I think we'd be a lot better for real though. I think for real. But honestly, I just think that was more of a little joke that was out there. But the next one, I actually don't know if it's anybody that's out here, and I didn't jot down the Twitter handle, but I was like, man, this one is sour. It is the Chicago Bears are a disgrace. Luke Getsy is a joke. He doesn't trust Fields. The offensive line is a joke. Also, can't believe we lose to the Giants. Daniel Jones, making Daniel Jones look like a Hall of Famer. Obviously, someone is not too happy, right? Someone is not too happy with this. I feel like that's a lot of what we're feeling. Let's just break this down. Chicago Bears are a disgrace. Well, this year, depending on your outlook for the Bears, going 2-1 made us a little bit more optimistic, but this Bears team is not great, right? So what you saw is what you got. Luke Getsy is a joke. I still think that that's up in the air. I don't love some of the play calling, but let's just get real here, right? These offensive coordinators, as much as we like to say that they don't know what they're doing, they know more than us about offensive play calling. We can still critique and say, hey, you shouldn't have done that. That was stupid. We can easily do stuff like that. But Luke Getsy, to me, and I see this is what happened with Trubisky. We're like, man, Trubisky, we should have been passing it more, right? When John Fox was here. And then we switch over to Matt Nagy, and we're like, well, actually, it doesn't seem like Trubisky knows what he's doing, right? And that's ultimately what we found out, was that Trubisky didn't know what he's doing. Trubisky just got benched in Pittsburgh. So all the Trubisky lovers that were like, wait till he's in an actual offense. And then they're like, wait, this guy can't see past his first read. What are we going to do? Right? So ultimately, he's not that, he wasn't that guy, right? And we saw this last year. Matt Nagy did not pass it a lot and was not running a lot of slants. And it seems like the same thing is happening with this. I think we need better offensive line plays and we need better wide receivers. You saw some of the wide receivers not play that great today too. I thought that there were some highlights and some lowlights, like the third down, quick little pass, the blitz came, great throw by Justin Fields up in the air, simply just dropped by Dante Pettis. I thought it was an overall good play, just wasn't executed. So yeah, and actually, Crazy Ace, I agree. I'm not saying anything until year 2. Exactly. Like we can, and I heard somebody say this the other day, and no truer words have ever been spoken. They said the NFL season is broken up into 17 mini seasons because of social media, right? Like every single game, we're on here saying whether the Bears are like going to the playoffs and amazing and, everything's all peachy, or people are saying, hey, everything's broken. We lost the game, tear everything up. We're never doing anything. And that's where it's good to have sample size. Then you can kind of see what this team is doing, right? And this coaching staff is learning. This coaching staff is getting better. You can see. So I think that this coaching staff is young. This coaching staff is inexperienced. Give them time, I'd say, overall. But another hot take that everybody has been saying, that Bayless is a bust. I already saw some people posting out there on Twitter, Bayless Jones is a bust. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, Bayless Jones was a 5th round talent that was drafted in the 3rd round. Everybody had him in the 5th. We picked him in the 3rd. Does that mean he's a bust? No. Does that mean that he's supposed to be amazing? No. Does that mean that we reach for him by the state of the draft? Yes. I loved Velus Jones as a fifth round sleeper. And I think that brings up the question, if you have somebody that's ranked in the fifth round that you're like, dude, this guy's a sleeper, and you draft him a little bit earlier, is that an overdraft or is that properly draft? It's one of those weird conundrums in the draft space that nobody's ever really kind of figured out, right? Velus isn't a bust. He wasn't even on offense. Like, he might have had like 2 snaps on offense. The dude never played. So let's hold this whole Velus Jones is a bust. Like, yeah, he he was out. Like we were not able to see him. He was out. Let's just give him give him seasons, give him multiple seasons. Wide receiver is still very difficult to play. He wasn't even like known for being a true wide receiver. So yeah, so we shall see. But also another thing that I want to talk about just with Velus is I was kind of surprised that we didn't do like an end around. I talked about this in the preview, that I wanted to see an end around, not from like the special teams perspective, but from the offensive perspective. If you just literally put him out there, right? Like if you put Velus Jones on the field, people would be like, dude, that's a rookie. He's really, really fast, right? So if you had him go all the way around and like put him in motion, like do something like that. Like that's where, yes, the offensive coordinators know more, but this is where I feel like we can critique and be like, dude, if you put Velus Jones in motion, everyone's going to be like, oh man, and you snap it and kind of fake the end around handoff, everyone's going to be following Velus. I can tell you that much because they're going to be like, I got to get this guy. They're just trying to boost his overall confidence. So we shall see. Hopefully he just comes back. It was a big moment for him, and ultimately he dropped it. Like, pun intended, no pun intended. It was bad. But with that, that leads us to our special teams review for the game. We've already been talking about it. Velus Jones muffed the punt. Don't need to talk about it anymore. But guys, Josh Blackwell, dude, we got to talk about some special teams here. He looked good. Josh Blackwell was down there as a gunner on some punts. Way to go. And he even forced the fumble, recovered it. Great job, right? Like, seriously, I thought that he played very well out there for the gunner. Our gunners played very well. Let me pull up the punt returns. Punt returns, 2.5 yards a punt. Bravo. And a fumble recovered. Absolutely incredible. 16.5 yards per kick return. Great special teams. And then the Honey Badger coming in and playing well. Honestly, I thought it was great. Way to go, Bears. Great all-around special teams, except for the muffed punt. But we did see Velus Jones out there. Let's ignore the punt and talk about the kick returns. I think that his first one was kind of very straightforward, just running in. But honestly, Velus, you see the different speed. You see the game-breaking ability that Ebner showed in college, but hasn't been showing in the pros. Velus has the speed to kind of take it back to the house. I always like that upside because it really turns the tide of a game. But Velus on the punts, he ran and broke a 19-yarder out. So to me, I still like him back there. He just needs to hold on to the freaking ball. Correct? So that's about it for the show today. We have to finish up with the player of the game. This is going to be difficult because there wasn't actually, no. Right after I said that, someone came into mind. The player of the game, to me, is none other than Eddie Jackson. Eddie Jackson had a game, made a lot of open field tackles. Like, I don't know if you remember that. Saquon Barkley's just running free, and here's Eddie Jackson going like, guess I got to make the tackle, dives at the legs, wraps up, gets it done. It seems like he just seems different. Like, even when he was tackling in 2018, he didn't seem like this focused to make the tackle. He just seems like, I got to show what I'm capable of. I love him out there. I could talk about him forever. Like, he gets the game, the player of the game today. Absolutely great. 3 interceptions on the year, guys. Just absolutely incredible. Absolutely great. But yeah, I think when you're looking at this team, you're trying to find some bright spots, right? Look at the secondary, guys. The secondary has, yes, we let up rushing yards. People are going to want to run on us. And yes, New York did not like, uh, you know, what you saw, like they weren't passing it a lot. They were trying to run it, but we were able to stop people even if they didn't have the wide receivers out there. So I'm excited about it. I'm pumped. So let's wrap up this show. So guys, 2-2. It's kind of expected, but still, we have next week against the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings have looked very Vikings-esque, up and down. I still thought that they were going to be really good this year. It's not saying that they're bad, but they have that Kirk Cousins in them where sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. It all depends, but they are 3-1. It's going to be an interesting game. We're going to be breaking it down on most likely Thursday. Just keep an eye out on Wednesday just in case, but most likely Thursday at 8 p.m. Central Time. Also, for those interested in some merch, I got the Take the North shirts. Hopefully this actually rings true. I wasn't able to get the integration to YouTube working. Thank you I forgot who shouted that out that it wasn't working. Now I just have the link. So unbearablesports.shop. You can go and find some merch out there. Greatly appreciate it. Also, down in the links, I actually have some affiliate links. If you're curious about what I use in my setup and have ever thought about setting up a podcast, or just if you work from home and you want to know what camera I use or what lights I use, it's all right there. Or even if you like my orange Chicago Bears helmet, you can find out where I got it. But guys, even though it was a tough loss, this isn't our year. But what we are going to do is we are going to keep on moving forward. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking, and Unbearable Sports Podcast, we're out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair, and you know that she's a bad chick.
Thank you for listening to this Belly Up Sports Podcast Network product. Some said we go belly up, so we made it our name, and we're still here.